this. We're just
Do you think we should just like have organic conversation and then like the music starts playing and it's like we're having conversation and then you cut it so then whenever you ask the first question, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, oh,
Yeah.
we're talking. Okay.
yeah, like we're just having, just talking about our day type shit, and then all of a sudden we just go into the first question, or like the music starts playing. Is that what you're saying?
So like you would be cutting at some point and the music starts playing and then when the music like lightens up, we're still talking about just random thing and then like you go into the question. You know how like Joe Rogan like starts his podcast but he's just like talking?
Oh, yeah, I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah, we could do something like that.
Give it a try.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we're talking right now.
Yeah, we are talking right now.
So, what were you thinking would be the first question, man? This is a big deal. This is numero uno.
Well, are you not going to do the first question?
I can't do the first question.
We don't have a coin, but we could do an imaginary coin flip. I'll go heads. It's tails.
Oh, okay. Looks like I'm first. So, dude, I was thinking what would make for a good first question for a question-based podcast?
I swear to God, is that the question?
No, that's a really shitty question.
Okay, thank God.
The question is, what do you think was the first ever conceived question by a human who was then it was communicated to another person? Not like the first like curious instinct, but like, oh, dude, are you seeing this? Like, you know what I mean?
Yes. That's a very good one, actually, to start off this podcast. I feel like it would probably have to be something with, like, food, right? Or, like, fucking, probably.
It's going to be primal.
It's one of the two Fs. It's food or fornication.
Yeah, like, I think all animals are curious by their drives. And, like, humans, before they could communicate with one another, it's like they're curious, like, how I'm going to eat, how am I going to reproduce. But, like, so I was like, oh, that's kind of obvious. It's one of the two. But at the level where it could be communicated to another person, whereas like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean?
Well, when did like speech first happen? Because obviously, I mean, like cavemen, ooga booga, wave a stick around, and that speaks a whole sentence back then. But like, when would actual language happen? Sumerian? Or like Mesopotamia area? Isn't that like first written languages?
I mean, they're like, they had buildings and they're doing pottery and stuff. I imagine they'd have some form of language. Like, I don't know if there's a dated time whenever like we know when first language. I mean, like there's probably like the earliest recording somebody's found of writing, but
that's true. I would think first question of human history is something about with food, fornication, or the other F, a favor, asking for help.
Yeah, yep.
I think that could have been the first question. I don't know, obviously, what they could. I mean, they could have been like broken leg. I need help moving this to over there or something. But I mean, what else would it be? I mean, unless it's just some like BS being like, well, I don't know. I don't even know. Like, what else would it be like a BS question to ask, or like
it's a joke? It's a fart joke.
Yeah, it's the first ever joke is also the first ever question.
So
it's a your mama joke.
So I think that was a really good point that you brought up. Probably like survival, like a saber-tooth tiger's coming out after your ass, and you're like, and it's like, oh, there's another one of me over there. Like, dude, are you seeing this? Yeah. Like, I could see that being a thing. I could see like, the group's eating berries, and one of the guys doesn't get back up because they're poisonous. They're like trying to figure it out.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Take notes.
But I feel like if we're in groups, like whenever communicating in groups, a question's been asked, right?
You mean, yeah, you'd think.
Or we like fish. We just school together, bro.
The first question, do you think that the person who was asked the question understood what was going on? Because, like, the first person figures out how to, like, actually ask somebody for something, and the other person's just like, what are you, like, he had to ask a question in that moment. He's like, what are you doing? The first two questions happened back to back, okay?
Imagine how lonely it would be. It's like, you ask the first question and nobody gets you. Imagine the existential angst. Kids are bitching about stuff now. It's like, dude, you're the first person who can ask questions, and nobody knows.
Nobody knows. You're the first, like, philosopher Right? You'd have to be. The first person to ask a question is the very first philosopher of human history.
Oh wow, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, the first person, who asked a question. I'm assuming they're probably ate some of the mushrooms or something, some berries that got them a
Probably
little
got-
altered.
They found some cow patties, flipped them over, went on a Viking trip through the ages.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like it either have to be like altered state, or like we're saying a survival thing, where it just kind of like smacks you awake, and you're like, oh.
When do you think the first question of existential crisis was asked? Like, when was the first person being like, I don't understand anything of my life, of what's going on, and he just freaks the fuck out? When do you think that happened?
So when did emo start?
Yeah, I guess.
It's a caveman with like a stick, just like with long black hair, just rocking away on his homemade bass guitar.
He's crying.
Man, I think we should rename this the Existential Podcast because it's going there already. I don't know if. I don't know. I don't know if existentiality has been a thing throughout the entirety of human history, or if that's something that's happened as we've had more luxuries and there's more time to think.
Yeah, I feel like honestly that's probably. Yeah, existential crisis has probably become like more popular or whatever. I don't know what term to properly use, but would be more popular since, like, honestly, and I'm being dead honest when I say this, when like Christianity became like the thing, because then that's what's something that everybody could latch onto, and then they're probably like, well, if this is supposed to be the answers but it doesn't make sense to me.
So I would add to that maybe like whenever science and Christianity started like
Yeah,
butting
like
heads.
button heads.
Yeah, I mean that makes
like,
sense.
Who
But
was it, Galileo?
But I would think there would be like previous religions and like previous conflicts. Like there's probably existentiality before.
Yeah, there's probably one dude who's getting like, who's sitting like laid out on the altar like an Aztec temple about to get sacrificed. And he's like, can we just take a pause, talk this through? Are we sure about all of this?
I am the best farmer in the town, and you're gonna
You guys
put
were
me
all
to an
there
end.
for my daughter's quinceañera. Like, please, Jimmy, Jerry, George, Juan. Yeah.
That was a real good range of names, Jimmy, George, and Juan. Oh man!
I don't know. I just went with a good alliteration right there.
All right, so let's get back on track. We
That's
went too far in the
We went a
future.
little off.
We went too far in the future. So we have
The very
a couple candidates, right? A couple potential pathways.
I would probably put my hat in the ring and bet that asking for help of some kind was probably the first question.
Yeah.
Whether, that could also cover, like, asking for food, asking for shelter, asking for whatever, but I definitely think that was probably the first, like, actual question. That wasn't more of just, like, tap you on the shoulder, point to that rock, and be like, trying to indicate that I need this moved, like, actual words. But that's what I would say.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're right. It'd probably be like that flight or flight's really kicking in, and someone
Yeah.
figured out, like, man, we might be good in packs.
Yeah, that's a good comedy scene for a movie, like two cavemen. Just like you remember that Jack Black movie where he was the caveman?
You remember that Jack Black movie? There's a lot of them. He looks like a caveman in each of them.
That is very true. But I think it was called Year One, where he played a caveman with Michael Cera. No, but something like that movie where it's just like two cavemen who don't speak anything for like the first 15 minutes of the movie, just grunts and shit, and then something happens and one of them's just like, oh my god!
There was an exponential jump in language.
And then the whole rest of the movie is just in English from that point forward.
Oh, man.
That'd be great. I think I just came onto a new movie idea.
What,
Don't steal my ideas.
the one that exists with Jack Black and Michael Cera?
No, well, I mean, that's just two cavemen, though.
Okay.
This whole movie is based around the idea that they don't speak English for the first 15 minutes, and then after that, they speak English because one of them just, like, had the emotional epiphany to speak English. I don't know.
All right, bro, so is this a comedy or is this a serious movie, dude? This is a drama.
This is a drama.
Those first words. Like,
This is an Oscar contender we're going to have Joaquin Phoenix play one caveman, and John C. Riley's playing the other one.
That makes a lot of sense.
This is going to be a hell of a movie. I don't know. I think that was a very good question to ask for the very first one.
Yeah, dude. I
I'm
was
very
like,
pleased with it.
I'm glad you're pleased. Thank you.
I'm glad you doesn't disappoint me.
I am so approved, man. Thanks. Yeah. So yeah, probably some primal stuff and
Yeah. Probably not like. Honestly, probably not as old as we actually would think. Of like, when was the first question asked? Like, you would think it would probably be like when like humanity first happened, but it might have been like thousands of years after humanity actually evolved.
dude, that just brought me to this idea.
An idea?
Yeah, dude.
Uh-oh.
Pretty nuts. Like, you
What
know
is
how the internet's causing everything to exponentially grow, and
Yes.
like every step we take as humanity, like every innovation, we're growing, we're learning, and that makes things easier. Like, maybe questioning, like being able to question was the first technology that started our exponential growth.
That would make sense because, like, I mean, if you're thinking about it that way, with the printing press was such a big growth, and that was just literally just being able to print more than one book a year.
Right. Yeah, like that expanded communication
For
significantly.
like by hundreds of years. So yeah, probably the very first question, honestly, probably did like bring about language.
Like even though it was
Developed it.
yeah, like even though it was two people, it's like two people now share a common idea that like it would just been like that like your individual experiences would have made up your database. Now it's like, oh, two people can build their experiences.
And then you just teach that to a third, and then you triple your profits. And then you teach that to a fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and then the entire village knows what you're talking about. And they all get on board.
Yep. Get you a community, get you a little clan going.
Yeah. Get a little culty, but that's okay. Because it's going to happen eventually. It's
Yeah.
just human history. Yeah, that's interesting. The thought of just asking the very first question probably accelerated the development of the human mind like hundreds of years in a second,
Yeah.
or at least decades in a second, basically.
Yeah. Yeah. Like the intellectual capacity, like
Yeah.
instinctually, we've all grown together through evolution. So there's a
course.
lot there, but yeah, that like intellectually, it's like boom, that has to be the start of something.
Yeah, that definitely. It's a good hypothesis. This is why time travel needs to exist. I need to know these answers.
Maybe we should save time travel for another one. I feel like that's a can of worms there.
I had an idea of a question similar with time travel, but it's not exactly time travel. But we will leave that for another episode because we don't want to put all our cards on the table right here on the first one. That would be very dumb.
Well, I think we have. All right, guys. It was a nice run. That was all the thought that we have.
I'm pretty spent. I don't want to do this anymore, honestly.
Yeah, I know. I quit my job for nothing. I was expecting that YouTube money overnight. And
Yeah, overnight sensation, just top of the billboards. Eat your heart out, Joe Rogan.
Dude, what if Joe Rogan watches this and he's just like, dude,
These kids got panache.
you know,
The one in the red's got balls, calling me out. I'll take him in the octagon.
no. No. I don't think so, dude.
That's what's got to take us to get us noticed. Call out Joe Rogan in the octagon.
You know how like Jake Paul's calling out fights?
Yeah,
Let's
just start calling out random comedians to fight and
yeah.
random podcasters to take the octagon.
Yep.
Well, I think this was a good little session for the first episode. I'm not quite sure what our time is. We don't have a clock,
Yeah.
but we will get a clock, and when we have a clock, we will better gauge all of our combos, all of the questions, and all of the quests and the adventures we go down in the rabbit hole that is our brains.
I hate you saying combos.